All right, hey everybody, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out as always. So we have some really exciting stuff for Vynnset players coming out of the hunted of all sets. I'm of course talking about the expansion slot card Cull. This is reason to be excited. Cull is actually, I think it's really brilliant design. Shout out to LSS, they always do amazing work. But the design on this card is so subtle, but I think it's exactly what Vynnset sort of needs. So we keep getting drip fed some support, and it's only going to get better from here. So Cull is a beautiful card. The art, first and foremost, with the Grim Reaper vibe and the souls leaving this pile of skulls, looks amazing. Definitely going to be looking for the foils, chasing the foils for this one. But it is at red, it costs 0, it is a non-attack action card, a shadow non-attack action card, so that's relevant for Vynnset's ability, and it blocks for 3, which is the first plus. Well, maybe the second plus. Shadow non-attacks are things that we're after in Vynnset to be able to trigger her hero ability, and more reliably turn on those like on-hurt effects that our RuneGate cards have. So, you know, pushing Unpreventable Arcane, guaranteeing that we both take damage, guaranteeing that we're making those rune chants, gaining that life, stripping cards from Arsenal, doing whatever. So that's the first plus. Second plus is this number 3 here at the bottom right corner of the card. Most of our non-attack action cards block for 2, as you're likely familiar with. So having a 3 block non-attack action card is a big plus for us. But the text is so subtle, the design is so subtle, but I think so impactful. So the first 2 lines here are reminiscent of something like Funeral Moon or Requiem, which I don't play so much, but so you may play this from your banished zone. So it's a banished target, another big plus for Vynnset. If your hero has lost life this turn, you may play this as though it were an instant. So this is the same text as Funeral Moon or Requiem. And then the only line of text that's different is each hero banishes a card from their hand. So subtle, but so impactful. And I'll talk about, you know, the few instances, like the obvious cases that you want to play this in. When you have these first 2 lines of text, you can play this from Banish, and not even that, but if a hero has lost life, you can play it as though it were an instant. If we pair that with Eloquence. So I guess right away as I say that, Requiem I said I don't play Requiem very much, but you know, we could start playing around with these like heavy Eloquence builds because we're getting more and more support for that style thing. But if we have Eloquence, we give this, we play this as an instant, it gains go again, it restores our action point. So there can be action point shenanigans, and that opens up a lot of possibility. And so, you know, I'm not going to go over all of those one-off cases where you're making extra action points and you're going wide, all this kind of stuff, because Cull can do that for us, just like Funeral Moon. I have already promised channel subscriber, please continue to engage in the Discord, by the way, and join the Discord if you haven't already. Lots of great discussion, but I had a subscriber reach out and suggest that I do sort of like a creepers tutorial, but not only like a creepers tutorial, but like an action point tutorial, because Vynnset can have some really complex lines when it comes to Funeral Moon, Eloquence, responding to Eloquence breaking. There are all of these like really interesting rules interactions that can make for some really complex lines in Vynnset. And I think I agree. It would be worthwhile to do sort of like a tutorial that goes through all those sort of one-off cases, as well as maybe just a clean tutorial on how to use creepers and the different cases, obviously in the context of Vynnset, because it's the hero I'm most familiar with playing. So that's on the radar. I hope to get to that in the new year. And so I'll likely bring up Cull during that point as well as we go through some of those weird interactions. But I think the 2 most obvious cases for playing Cull is you can either play it on your opponent's turn. So if you've taken damage, or if they've taken damage somehow, but often if you take the first hit or something like that, you take some damage. This could either be face up, it could be in your banish zone from the previous turn, like you banished it at the beginning of your turn, and it's face up, and then your opponent has to play around this because you take damage from the first swing, let's say. You could strip a card at any time. So just reading what they're doing in terms of their hand and their pitch, you could basically like stymie a go wide turn against an aggro deck by stripping that card that they really need for pitch, or that card that they're really hoping to like follow up their first attack with, or something like that. And it could be completely face up, sort of along the same lines of the not why can't I remember the name? The headpiece, the brute headpiece, scowling flesh bag. Sort of like that, where you're threatening this card stripping, and if your opponent's not paying attention or they forget about it, it can really throw a wrench in the plans of one of their turns and prevent a lot of damage on their turn. So I think that's one of the use cases, is playing it on your opponent's turn in response to like them wanting to go wide. The other thing you can do is play it during your turn to strip cards from their hand and prevent them from being able to block. And it, you know, the fact that it's a shadow non-attack action card is also amazing. So like, couple cases on your turn. Let's say you have Eloquence up from Eloquent Eulogy, for example, or if we're playing Requiem, or you can break Grimoire, but let's say we have Eloquence up. You can play this outright. Don't need to worry about playing it at instant speed. It gains go again from the Eloquence. We take the damage to Vynnset, to Vynnset's ability by playing this shadow non-attack action card. It strips a card from their hand, and then we can swing. So that's pretty simple. Alternatively, it can pair really nicely with other shadow non-attack action cards. So we can open our turn with another shadow non-attack action card, take the damage to Vynnset, swing something, push a rune chant through, which turns this online. Now a hero has lost life. We can even play this right away at instant speeds, strip a card from their hand, again reducing their ability to block. The other thing that this card really does well for us on our turn, because remember, we both need to banish a card from hand. And we don't mind so much because we can get value from the cards that we're banishing. So on your opponent's turn, you might be able to sneak in a Funeral Moon and get an extra rune chant before you even start your turn. Or, you know, putting in a Rune Gate card that you might be able to go too wide the next turn. On your turn, you might also want to be putting extra Rune Gate cards in your banish zone. We like to take turns off. We love going first, because we want to bank a Rune Gate card in our banish zone so that we can facilitate these two wide turns, especially with Malefic Incantation nowadays and things like that. So Cull allows us to bank those Rune Gate cards and put more cards in our banish zone so that we can facilitate more of these wide turns, which I think like really swings the tempo in our favor often in these Vynnset matchups. So those are the two things on our turn that Cull can really do for us. It can strip cards from your opponent's hand, make them less able to block on their turn, can help us with Guardian when we're trying to get over that wall. And also it allows us, again, for more damage output on our turn by putting extra cards in our banish zone. This is also sort of the reason that we're targeting like Shadow Averser, for example. The reason Shadow Averser is good is not that it is a 2-go again, but it's that it can allow us to put extra cards sometimes when we need it in our banish zone so that we can go wide. I think Cull just do it more cleanly. Not saying that we're cutting Shadow Averser. I think we do need some blues, especially if Jarl becomes more meta, or if we have some more disruptive decks in the meta. We'll see the impact of the Hunted. But anyways, for a similar reason, Cull is good. So anyways, I think this card is insanely good in Vynnset. I think it's really, it's going to be really impactful as a card. We're not going to know its full power until we can really start to test. Which on that note, I have, so I just built this new sort of version of the list. I'm kind of settled in my mid-range build, so it's quite similar to what I've talked about previously on the channel. Go check out those videos if you haven't already. But I guess what I want to talk about is some of my targets for replacement with Cull. What I decided to do, so I think Cull is just a main board card. So I threw it in the main board. What I did is, because I like this like 48 main board side in 12 sort of idea. So Cull has now replaced Beseech the Demagon in the main board for me. So Beseech the Demagon, I don't want to remove it from the list. I thought originally Cull sort of competes with Beseech for a similar slot, because Beseech is sort of like our extra shadow non-attack action card. It blocks for 2, gives +3. So +3 is awesome though as well, and I don't think we want shadow non-attack action cards. So I don't think Beseech is out of the list. Instead, what I've cut, I had Pummels in the list. Pummel has always been like sort of that cute inclusion. It can be obviously super impactful if it lines up with some blues to strip a card from your opponent's hand, disrupt, or guarantee like a Mauve Skies on a hit, making more rune chance, following it up, etc. In the right circumstances, it can be really impactful, but it's also not the most consistent piece. So Pummel has always come in and out of the list, and I think Cull just kind of like strips it from the list. If we're trying to go mid-range, more consistent, I think we're going to go Cull. So the 2 Pummels that I had previously in the list have come out, and I've gone down to 2 Envelop and Darknesses. So that's sort of what I've decided or targeted right now as removal. So Envelop and Darkness will come in during grindier matchups. If we're going first, if we have Tunic, of course, I think it's really important that we have Tunic up if we're going to put in the Envelops. But anyway, so that's what I've decided to cut. 2 Pummels, 1 Envelop to make room for the Cull. The only other difference is that I've dropped the Beseeches down into the inventory for those more aggro sort of, when we want to lean more aggro, we will side them in. But that's it. That's the only change I've made to my most recent mid-range build, which again, I have a whole video on, so I'm not going to go through this deck with a fine-tooth comb. This video is more just about discussing Cull. So you can go back to that video to take a look at my most recent mid-range list. Video description, the deck list will be there as well. So what I did want to share with you guys is my initial testing. So this is my very, very first game on Cull. I just queued up an open sort of game so that we could put it in. And we got queued into a Ira Scarlet Revenger. Probably do a little fast forwarding here. It's a 26-minute long game, which is not terrible. And so our opponent here, I'm just going to talk through the lines. We'll see if Cull made an impact on this game or not. So our opponent chose to go first. They want to go long to get as much value as possible. Ira does. Every turn they're getting that +1. So there's an argument to be made to go aggro to try and close the game out as quickly as possible. In this case, I decided to go like sort of blended. Arguably, I could have gone Envelop in Darkness. I don't think I did decide to go Envelop in Darkness. We're not going to side in the Read the Rune since we're not going first. But I am putting in the Beseeches as sort of an aggro piece. And I'm siding in my Reduce Rune Chant to make more Rune Chants. I'm siding in my Haunting Rendition since they're so versatile. And I think I decided to side in my Sink Belows as well. So I decided to go mostly defensive, which again is going to draw out the game. So I don't know if that's the choice here. I'm still figuring out my game plan into Ira. I think arguably if I were to make this choice again, I might side in the 2 Envelop and Darknesses and maybe take out 2 Sink Belows and just go like 7 D-Reacts or blocks. And then it's kind of like a mix between defensive and aggressive. I think that might have been the best choice here in hindsight, but we decided to go mostly defensive, side in the Beseech of the Demigons, and call it a day. So I like our opening hand. Again, we're not going first, but Deadwood Dirge is a great setup piece, and often even when we are on the draw, like if we're not playing first, we sometimes still like to take a turn off. And so when I'm looking at Deadwood Dirge for our first turn, regardless of whether it's turn 0, turn 1, it's always a good setup piece. And I'm also looking at this Sink Below as a nice arsenal target. And the other 2 are sort of like dispensable cards. Widespread Annihilation is not a terrible target, especially if we're building Rune Chants at the beginning of our turn. But at the same time, like, I could also just draw into another Rune Gate card. And this is turn 0, so we're going to have to give up cards. They're revealing that they are playing Amnesia right off the top. And I think I do misplay a little bit later on when it comes to Amnesia, but Amnesia is a really impactful card that I'm seeing more of in a lot of decks because it does sort of bamboozle Runeblade. I'm just going to pause for a second. And it's an impactful card that we need to worry about and watch out for. So I did decide to just go ahead and block with my 2 blues here, 2 blue 3 blocks, perfect 6 block, move on, keep my nice setup cards, and see what we draw into, hopefully drawing into a Rune Gate card. Like half of our deck is Rune Gate, so the hope is that we would, and we do. We find a Deathly Whale, it's beautiful. We also find another one of our awesome setup pieces, Malefic Incantation. So I want the Sink Below in Arsenal. So I'm just going to go ahead and play these setup pieces, banishing my Deathly Wail and sort of passing, putting the Sink Below in my arsenal. So now we have an awesome setup, awesome beginning of game. We hope that they don't have a super, crack back turn here and that they sort of drew into fire to punish us for taking a turn off. But either way, they're starting off with a Kodachi for 1. We're just going to snap take that first Kodachi every time. And then we'll see what they follow that up with. Kodachi for 2 with Ira. I think I decided to take this one as well. I don't really want to give up. Like, our next turn, we have 3 rune chants. So we're going to go up to 4 at the beginning of our next turn. We're going to be able to play out Deathly Wail. So, like, Beseech, Deathly, guarantees 2 rune chants, the way I look at it, right? Shadow non-attack plus Wail guarantees 2 rune chants on Chain Close. We have a Go Again Enabler. We also have Hand Disruption. And we have a nice Banish target. So, like, I really like the makeup of this hand. I'm going to do my best to keep it. So we're choosing not to block the second Kodachi. We're choosing to see what they throw at us. For their third attack, that is also going to draw them a card from Mask of Momentum. And it is Amnesia, which we sort of knew we saw off top. So we knew it was coming. But that doesn't mean that we're going to play around it perfectly. So I decided to give Crown of I do really like my hand. So I think I decided to go Crown of Providence and then de-react with the Sink Below. That is our 1 saving grace here, the Sink Below in Arsenal. So we have to make sure we don't want to sink it. We want to play it from Arsenal. So this is a perfect 6 block. We like our hands. We don't need to filter, even though we had 2 opportunities to do so. And then they are going to call it and move on. So on our second turn, we're going to banish our Phantom Wraith, play out Beseech, the Demagon, Vynnset trigger, take it, snap take it. Whenever we're following it up with a Deathly Wail, we want to guarantee both heroes losing life, so that when we close the chain, we get our 2 rune chants. We're going to buff our Deathly Wail, give it Overpower and Go Again with Machinations, and come in for 4, 1 Unpreventable, and 8 Go Again Overpower. And the Overpower might allow us to follow this up and strip a card from hand with Succumb. If they're not able to, draw into their reactions or something like that, they're not going to be able to fully block this. So we'll see either way. So they had to take the 1. They're contemplating the next 3. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. So they decided to block the other 3 with a blue. And now they're staring down this 8 Overpower Go Again, which will make us 2 rune chants when we close the chain. Fast forward some more. They're thinking. We'll see what they decide to do with this. So they decide to skip it altogether, which leads me to believe that they probably do have reactions. If they have 2 reactions, like 2 Sink Belows or something, a Reflect Flak and a Sink Below, then this will cover it up completely. But I am choosing to go with the Succumb anyways. It will make us an extra action point. And with that extra action point, we can finish our turn on Flail of Agony. So that doesn't hurt. And so they didn't have the second defense reaction. They just blocked with a Flick Flack. So they are taking some damage here, which forces the Succumb on hit. And so we're taking a look at their hand. In hindsight, I don't know, like, if I should have taken Warmongers here. I'm targeting it because I hate to see Warmongers. So, but there's an argument to be made here where we just take we strip the give and take, so then all they can do is sort of like come in with Kodachis next turn, but they could Warmongers us, which can hurt. So I did decide to take the Warmongers, but I'm not sure if that was actually correct. So then we decide to break the chain. We know what they have in hand, a couple 3 blocks, which is fine. So we might force them to either give them to us or take some more damage. So we close the chain. We are trying to end the game as quickly as possible here. We don't want Ira to get that much value. So throwing in another 3 and 6, another 9 damage is not inconsequential. Plus we still have an action point for Flail at the very end of our turn. So we'll see what they decide to do here. So they're giving us the give and take and the Knives Out. So they're choosing to you know, keep their life up. They want this game to go long. So they took the rune chance, they blocked the 6, and then were able to sing in Flail, which they do have Breeze Rider boots that they can kind of get one Flail block throughout the game for free. So we'll see what they choose to do here on the Flail attack. And they decide not to block it, so Flail hits for 1. We make a rune chant, which is great. We love to end on rune chants. And then we draw up. They have no cards in hand, so they're just going to pass the turn back to us. And we are going to put a Deathly Wail in our banish. And, okay, yeah, we're just choosing to do a setup turn here. So we drew into a lot of Ring Gate cards, which is pretty awkward. We want to see those non-attack action cards as well. So we decided to just take a turn off, take a setup turn, banish that Deathly Wail, make another rune chant, bank that Succumb for a future turn, and hope that they don't have a crazy turn. So they start with a Give and Take, which we do decide to block, which allows them to put a card on top of their deck. But we have a very blocky hand because we cannot utilize all of these Rune Gate cards. So we're happy to kind of just give 3 of them. So we'll see. I think like we're probably going to want to banish this Eloquent Eulogy. Soulbead Strike needs to hit in order to get go again. And so we're happy to sort of just like give them the other 2 Rune Gate cards that we can't really utilize on our turn. Prevent that go again. We didn't take any damage. They do get an Arsenal, which is a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. We're going to be able to come in with this Deathly Wail for 3 and 6. They have a decision now. Like, Malefic Incantation is going to make us a rune chant no matter what, so we're going to end on a rune chant, but if they decide to take damage here, little they know, it does turn our Succumb to Temptation online, and it's also going to make an extra rune gate or rune chant when we close the chain. I think we will probably play the Succumb to Temptation, or we probably want to play the Succumb to Temptation no matter what here, regardless of whether they block her out or not, because that extra action point allows us to also take a damage with Flail and threaten an extra rune chant. So we're just trying to make as many rune chants as possible, get that value off of Deathly Wail, even though Succumb is not going to hit. The other choice here, by the way, because we have Malefic Incantation up, we do have a rune chant. We could have played Eloquent Eulogy, which may actually have been the call, because now it has that Succumb disruption threat online, so they would have to give us a card in Breeze Rider boots. So I don't know. The trade-off here is, do we want to threaten... We want to make an extra rune chant guarantee because we took damage, threaten a rune chant, unless they give us Breeze Rider boots, or threaten the on-hit discard unless they give us a card and Breeze Rider boots. It kind of depends on how much you value setup. So wanting to end on 1 rune chant or 2 rune chants, threatening 3 rune chants, versus, like, I think my thinking here is that, like, sitting on Eloquent Eulogy is not the end of the world. It's the easiest rune gate card to get out, especially with Malefic Incantation. So I don't mind just like sort of banking it for a wider turn and just making rune chants for now. So yeah, I guess that's what we decided. So we draw up. I just love to see Deathly Wail when we're on 2 rune chants to end the turn. Beseech Wail alone is great. So we have 2 cards that we don't mind blocking with here, Haunting Rendition and Phantom Wraith. We could Creepers in the Beseech if we wanted to get cute and go 2 wide. With Tunic online, Creepers is free. So we could basically like present Wail, Creepers in the Beseech, go Eloquence, like still end on chance. I don't hate that. So the only thing is like Creepersing in after we swing means that, like, yes, we're going to take the damage from Beseech, and we're probably going to force damage through for Eloquent Eulogy, so we probably still will get the 2 chants when we eventually close the chain. So I don't know. That might have been the play. But either way, I'm sort of not talking through what they're doing. So they ended up just presenting a Flusterfist after their Kodachi, I believe. And so Flusterfist coming in for 5. I'm not really that worried about the on hit. I don't even know if there is an on hit for Flusterfist. So we are just going to take 1, give them our nice clean floor block. Even though we don't really need this Phantom Wraith, I don't know. It's, you know, discarding it for 1 damage may actually be the play, since it is like really not helping us unless we pitch it to creepers. So banish whale is the clear choice. So now the only decision is whether we want to get cute, and in this case we didn't decide to. So we're just going to play it cleanly, play out Beseech, take the damage, continue to just like float value with that Eloquent Eulogy over the next turn. I don't know. Argument to be made here to go the creepers line and sort of make an extra action point, and go 2 wide instead, probably still ending on 2 chance. You know, staying 1 life above. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with my play here, but either way, 1 unpreventable, and they decide to take a bunch here, so they want to keep their hand, which I think in hindsight, we didn't know that at the time, but like probably would lead towards like our go wide option there being better. So maybe I should have taken advantage of creepers. So we draw into an awkward hand here. No, like our only banished target here is Funeral Moon. No Rune Gate cards to banish, so we're going to be playing Eloquent Eulogy out on this turn. And like we do have Phantom Wraith in Arsenal, and we have Tunic up. So that means Phantom Wraith only costs 1 card, essentially. We pitch a card with Tunic resource, it's 2. So we could like Mauve Skies, Eloquent Eulogy. Like we'd probably banish Funeral Moon. And then like maybe Beseech the Eloquent Eulogy, Mauve Skies, Eloquent Eulogy, pitching the Tunic and the Mauve Skies to come in with Phantom Wraith, banishing the Funeral Moon. But it would require us to keep the entire hand. And so we're taking the Harmonized Kadachi for now. We're going to see, they obviously want, they have a scary turn. They want to play out their whole hand. So we're trying to we're waiting for our opportunity to block. It's coming in 5 on hit, +1. We have a good life lead, and I don't really want to give up 2 cards here to prevent that +1. So I'm thinking we just take it. So we go ahead and take that, go down to 20. Breeze Rider Boots triggered. They don't need it. All right, let's go again. I'm like instinctively hitting space to like skip the triggers, but I'm pausing the video instead because obviously we're not live on Talishar. But so then they decide to follow it up with, I was expecting something a little scarier. Aspect of Tiger Body. It's 4. It makes a Crouching Tiger, which is not really impactful. So it's a 0 for 4 go again. Which again, I think I'm just trying to keep my hand at this point. To have like still an impactful turn. They're at 15, so we want to pressure their life total now and try to like get them down into the danger zone where they really need to think about their blocks, and be able to pressure us less and take less advantage of their own hero ability. I forgot to mention here that Mask of Momentum, which is why I was kind of thinking about this, is the only scary thing about this is the Mask of Momentum trigger. So I did decide to let it hit because I'm getting greedy with my hand, but we'll see if that is the choice or not. It depends on what they draw into. But they have 2 float, and I'm thinking that they're going to come in with whatever they have in Arsenal anyways. So letting the Mask of Momentum, yeah, it is an Amnesia, which sucks for us. So essentially why Amnesia sucks for Vynnset is when it hits a hero, cards and tokens lose and can't gain names until the start of their next turn. So Rune Chants are no longer called Rune Chants, so we can't Rune Gate anything in. So our line, I mean, we could still go Mauve Skies, keep, like, we can give 1 card, I guess, if we wanted to. Like, just block with Beseech, or block with Funeral Moon, banish Beseech or something. We can still go Funeral Moon, Phantom Wraith, but we can't Rune Gate if Amnesia hits. So I think we decide to take the loss here and just give them a bunch of cards. But we'll see, I can't remember. So we block for 5. Yeah, we decided to give Creepers here as well. So again, all the more reason for us to get that Creepers value early game, before, you know, and try and float it and try and keep it alive until we inevitably have to block with it. But anyways, it is what it is. You know, we're not going to play everything perfectly. So we decided to play out just Beseech the Demagon and Eloquent Eulogy, which is still a great, you know, we kept 2 cards in hand. This is 4 and 7, 1 unpreventable. Or no, we didn't decide. I don't think we decided to take the damage here because they would have to give us basically their whole hand at a minimum to be able to full block all of this. So we know we're likely to get an Eloquence anyways. So they pitch a blue. They're going to prevent 3 of the rune chants, likely taking 1, I assume, if they don't want to pitch any more. Then 7. And they surprisingly just decide to take it down to 7. So I think they're just trying to pressure our life total now that we're at 16. So now, this hand is interesting. We have enough blues. Like, what I see when I look at this line is like Banish Eloquent Eulogy, Machinations, Eloquent Eulogy from Banish, like Runegate, and then pitch to play either the Widespread Ruin or the Phantom Wraith. But again, that's like a full... We can give up 1. We can give up the Widespread Ruin and still be able to go 2 wide on our turn. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. But we are a little bit, you know, apprehensive. They kept a 4-card hand. And so we'll see what they're cooking with over there. They start off with a Bittering Thorns, say, here's 4. Do you want to give my next thing +1? Unfortunately, Bloodied Oval is not online. This would be a snap block. If Bloodied Oval is online, we would just give Ruin, Bloodied Oval, call it a day. But since we can't really easily block this without giving either Tunic, which I don't know if I want to give. Maybe it is the play to give Tunic here. But anyways, we decide to let Bittering Thorns hit. They don't need to worry about Breeze Rider Boots, but it's going to give +1 to their next thing. They have 2 float. And if I remember correctly, they're going to hit us with that friggin' Amnesia again. So they've seen all 3 Amnesias, really, really good into us. And this one's getting 2 buffs, 1 from Bittering Thorns, 1 from Ira. It's coming in for 8, which is really awkward for us to block. So again, this throws our plans out the window because we can no longer Runegate anything. So we're just gonna, we decide, well, we're thinking about it, but we decide that we're going to preserve life and just come in, like, our value engine's online, right? So we're just gonna preserve life, Banish Eloquent Eulogy, come in for another 5. They're at 7 now, so they can't really ignore what we're doing. So I think that's what I decide to do, is just give up those cards. Bloodied Oval still not online. So give them up, block it out, and then we can still follow this up with 5. A 1-card 5 is not too bad. Eloquent Eulogy is such an all-star in this deck, which again was some more like drip-fed expansion slot support that we got. So you know what? Vynnset's going to be S tier in no time. Okay, so that's it. Easy enough on our turn now. Not much to decide on. We're going to banish Eloquent Eulogy, play it out with the 1 rune chant that it creates from Vynnset's ability. And again, they're at 7, so they have to be more careful with their life total at this point. So I was just checking, I think, how many Amnesias they saw, but I'm pretty sure they've seen them all. So Eloquent Eulogy, they decide to take the rune chant, block for 3, take another 1 down to 5, I assume. Yep. Okay, so down to 5. We draw into our first Cull. So we haven't seen Cull this whole thing. This whole game was about testing and seeing what it's all about. So we have a Sink Below that we like to block with. We still have that Phantom Wraith and Banish. Deathly Wail and Cull are our 2 banished targets. And then we have a Succumb to Temptation. We can't easily play out the Deathly Wail unless we break Vexing Quill Hand, but it's late game. We're probably getting to that point. In this case, we decide to... it was just a 3-block that they get value for if we block it. So I decided to just take the initial 3. We do still have a good little life buffer. So we take the life for a life. They present Command and Conquer, which is very awkward when we're sitting on Sink Below. But also, we don't really care about our arsenal. So chances are we're just going to take some damage here. I don't think we want to go to 3. But again, we don't really care about the arsenal. So... let me think about this. So Succumb to Temptation, it's tempting. It's tempting to hold on to. Because I think what we're going to do is banish Deathly Wail, break Vexing Quill Hand so that we can play it out. Then we can play it out, hoping they take damage to the rune chance. If they do, we're able to play Cull, take the damage so that we can guarantee make 2 chance at the end of our turn. And also maybe disrupt their hand with Succumb to Temptation. But that would require us to take all 7 of this and go to 2. That's 2, like, they could stymie that entire plan by just pitching a blue. So instead, I think we give up the Succumb to Temptation. And arguably, I'm tempted to hold on to the Cull because Shadow non-attacks are just great, especially with a Deathly Whale. So I don't know. I don't know what we decide to do here, but I think I'm probably going to give up this Succumb. And arguably, like in hindsight, maybe like I take 4 to 5, and then we still try and get some value off of the Cull. Yeah, that's what we decide. But I don't know. Maybe blocking with the Cull was the play. We could have actually, but that's the thing. I kind of like, I like CNC clearing the Phantom Wraith. I probably shouldn't have arsenaled that in the first place. But yeah, and oh, what I didn't think about is we have 2 Eloquence up. So we can actually play Cull just with the Eloquence, give it go again, take the damage, force them to banish a card. We'll have to banish Sink Below, which is fine. And then present 1 Unpreventable and a Whale and guarantee 2 chance. I kind of like that. I think that's probably what we ended up doing. So banish the Deathly Whale, break Vexing, or we Cull first, I guess, just taking advantage of our Eloquence to give it go again. And most importantly, getting that Vynnset trigger, allowing us to push a free damage through, and allowing us to guarantee 2 chance at the end of our turn. I'm just waiting for them to make a decision. So take the damage to Vynnset. That gains go again. We break Vexing to make our other 2 chance, and then we come in with Deathly Whale for 3, 1 Unpreventable, and 4. Not super impactful in terms of damage, but still pretty good. We're going to force them down to 4, and then 2 chance. And they also only have 3 cards to block with now. They had to banish this Lunging Press because of Cull. So end game, you know, you want to take these chance, or do you want to give us your hand, essentially? But end game now, they're probably looking at Tunic and Mask, yep, as block. But they are choosing to go to 1. And now all we need to do, now in this end game, when our opponent chooses to go to 1, I'm just in life preservation mode. I want to stay around 3 to 4 life, so that literally all we need to see, a Funeral Moon, a Cull, either of them will just win us the game when our opponent's at 1, single-handedly. And you'll see why. But anyways, they're presenting a Bittering Thorns, which we have a perfect block for. We have Rune Chance. We ended with 2 thanks to Deathly Whale. We're going to make a 3rd here now with this reduced to Rune Chant. Excuse me. We did not draw into our guarantee win, which is a Shadow non-attack action card. So we just need to preserve life. They have 2 float. They are going to follow this up with a Command and Conquer. We don't have Arsenal, but we have a perfect block. So we can block 4 with Haunting Rendition. It is not a defense reaction, so you can still get that 4 value. And we'll give them the blue Deathly Delight or Deathly Whale for a perfect 7 block. All we get to do is banish this whale, present 3 and 6, which is guaranteed going to strip 3 cards. Again, game plan at this point is just strip cards from opponent and try. Oh, sorry, 4. Because of the reduced to enchant made us. So that's extra awkward. They basically have to give us their entire hand. They have no more blocks on equipment, so they have to give us a blue plus another card plus 2/3 blocks in order to just survive. So we strip their entire hand and then hope we draw into our Shadow non-attack next turn just to close out the game. The best cards in this situation are actually things like Cull, like Funeral Moon and Cull, because you can play them from Banish. So single-handedly, you could keep only that card, banish it, present Flail, which costs us a life to swing. Now that we've lost life, we can play before the Rune Chant resolves, right? Because we get a Rune Chant when we banish. Before the Rune Chant resolves on Flail swing, since we pay life as a cost to swing Flail, now Funeral Moon and Cull are online. We can play them for free from Banish. Take the damage to Vynnset and make that next Rune Chant, the Rune Chant that's waiting to proc and deal that damage. just force it through. So another reason why cards like Cull, cards like Funeral Moon, which Cull does end up winning us the game here. We don't care about the rest of these cards. I could literally just banish Cull. I think I decided to banish Deathly Delight. It doesn't matter. We can literally just banish Cull. Or do I just banish Cull? I can't remember anymore. I don't know why I'm thinking so hard on it, but we decide to banish Cull. Just looking at Flail right away. We take the damage to swing Flail. We stack Cull on top of that. Vynnset trigger, take the damage to Cull. Cull, banish this other target. We have Deathly Delight. Great. Say good game because this Rune Chant is now unpreventable. And this is why we need to stay at 3 or 4 life so that we don't kill ourselves by both taking the damage to Vynnset and swinging Flail. So we have to be at least at 3 life to be able to pull that off. But in this case, it was enough to get us there. So another reason, a fringe reason why Cull is such an impactful card. I'm just punching the mic at this point. But I'm just that passionate about the card. But anyways, that didn't show the full potential of Cull. It didn't, like, the banish from hand sort of was inconsequential in a way. I do think that can be quite impactful, again, for stripping cards from our opponent's hand, making them less able to block, making them less able to go wide on their turn, and also filling our banish with rune-gateable cards to make us go extra wide. In this case, the utility for that, what the card is actually designed for was like fairly minimal. But you also saw some of the just like fringe benefits of this card, being able to close out a game when your opponent chooses to go to 1. And, it wasn't inconsequential that we did strip that card during that one turn. It forced them to maybe, basically give us their hand or go down to 1 card. I can't remember, but anyways, I don't think that game showcased the full power of Cull, but I do think that this is a really, really impactful card, and I'm really excited to get my hands on it to play in paper. So some exciting things in the pipeline right now. If you're still watching at the end of the video, thank you so much. Please consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help. Helps me keep going to see that you guys enjoy this content and see that number keep going up. So thank you to those of you who are subscribed. And anyways, some exciting stuff. League That Means Nothing 3, Season 3 on Go Again Gaming. So go check out Az's channel if you're not already subscribed over there. Got some games on there for the League That Means Nothing Season 3 coming up. I think we're queued in round 2 right now. So my round 1 is already up, so you can go dig in for that. Some exciting stuff going on the channel as well. Again, looking forward to the new year when I have a little more time on my hands, devoting a little more time to Flesh and Blood and to the content on this channel. So stay posted for that. But for now, I'm going to let you go. Happy holidays to you all. I hope you have a restful break, or I hope you are able to take a restful break anyways. And we'll chat real soon, okay? Cheers, everybody.